The answer is no. We can't do this show and not bring in our guy, Khobi Price, covers the team for the Orlando Sentinel. Look, every time you and I talk to Jamal Mosley, he dubs this the level up. And when we press him and say, well, what's that mean in terms of results? He doesn't go there. That's fine. He's a grown man. He can do that. Outside of the outcome, how do we know this is working?
Yeah, with this team, a lot of the dialogue that you have about what they're looking for this season is a lot of process oriented, I guess, phrases, right? Um, and I think that's very important, especially for any team, but especially for a younger team, because they're still very much in habit building mode. They're trying to build the right habits both on and off the floor, especially when a lot of guys are 25 and younger. So, and the natural question is, well, if we're so focused on the process, how do you know if things are getting better? If you look at the bigger picture, are their turnovers going down? Are guys no longer making the same mistakes that they did the previous game or the previous week or the previous month or previous season? Are they going to defend better, more consistently, as opposed to last season? Started off rough defensively, then after the All-Star break, they really took off. Are they understanding the concepts, and not just understanding, but getting into those concepts quicker and executing those concepts better in schemes than they did last season?
A lot of people misinterpret best and value as the same conversation, and we know it's not. For this team to hit their ceiling this year in particular, their most important player has to be who?
I think for the Magic, for the 2022-2023 season, the most important player, we're not saying the best, we're not saying most valuable, but the most important player would be Franz Wagner. It's going to be important to see the steps that he takes in his second career after a stellar rookie season. The Magic have spoken about, not putting too much pressure on Paolo Banchero's hands as the number one pick too early. Franz has a full season of experience, a full 79 regular season games played. What steps is he able to take and move forward? That's not to say that Paolo's, the growth of the number one pick isn't important, but what Franz does, that will be telling for this franchise, not just for this season, but for down the line as well.
He's waited all year for this. My man, your moment. Your record prediction.
Record prediction for the Orlando Magic's 2022-2023 season would be 31-51. I think that will show a 9-win improvement from last season, a decent amount of growth, a fair amount of growth rather, from season to season. There are still going to be growing pains with this team. This is still a very young roster, oddly enough, a younger roster than last year's team. And while they did have most of them, they did have a full season and a full offseason and training camp and preseason to get adjusted and growth based off last year. The East, the league overall, but especially the East, is very good. A lot of the other teams you talk about leveling up for the Magic, a lot of other teams leveled up as well, and a lot of them are going to be making a push for the playoffs or even the play-in. And I think what you'll see is the Magic competing better, competing harder than they did last year. Being more locked in on the details we talked about earlier. But, they're still going to come up short in a fair amount of games. However, I do think you'll see improvement, not just from a playing style standpoint, and the detail standpoint, but also on record as well.